Welcome to Ohio Roots, the official podcast of the Ohio Genealogical Society. Join us as we embark on a captivating journey through Ohio's rich genealogy, history, and abundant resources. Hosted by me, OGS Executive Director and reporter, this podcast brings you insightful conversations with a diverse array of guests, from OGS members, chapter leaders, and staff, to renowned genealogists, historians, and influential figures within the genealogical community. Each episode delves into fascinating topics and captivating stories. So grab your headphones, hit that play button, and join us in this enthralling journey of Ohio's roots. Discover your roots and light up your genealogy. Join us for the Ohio Genealogical Society's annual conference, April 30th through May 3rd, 2025, at the beautiful Kalahari Resort in Sandusky, Ohio. Learn from top genealogy experts, explore groundbreaking research techniques, and connect with fellow family history enthusiasts. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned pro, this is the must-attend event for discovering your story. Visit OGS.org to register today. That's OGS.org. Let's light up your family history together. OGS, connecting families, past and present. We're continuing our Ohio Roots podcast discussions with presenters for the 2025 OGS Conference this week by speaking with Kelli Jo Bergheimer. As I'm sure you know, Kelli has presented at previous conferences, and this year she'll be offering 2 Wednesday workshops and 3 other sessions. Kelli gives us a taste of what to expect from her programs, and I hope you enjoy this conversation with Kelli Jo Bergheimer. Well, Kelli, thank you so much for joining me today for the Ohio Roots podcast. I really do appreciate you taking some time out of your schedule, particularly right now. We're kind of in the middle of the holiday season as we're recording this, so I really do appreciate you being willing to be here today.
Yes, of course. I'd love to be here and talk about the conference.
Wonderful. Before we get to that, one of the questions I ask all of my guests when I have them on for the first time is, how was it that they got involved in genealogy in the first place? What was it that lit the fire in them to pursue genealogy and family history?
Well, I think for me, it started when I was a young girl, early teens, and we have a lot of Ohio history in my family. And so I do have a grandmother, 2 great aunts, and an uncle who lived in Darke County in Greenville.
Okay.
And so those 2 great aunts of mine were in DAR. They traveled around the world. They went on genealogy archive trips, like when, in the 50s and 60s. Right. And so they always had really interesting stories. And they had a room, you know how sometimes people have a room in the house that's kind of like a parlor, like the little kids aren't really allowed because they're messy. And so my great aunt Kate had a parlor room. And I remember being just old enough to go in there and look at the family pictures and ask a lot of questions. And I did. Yeah. And so I think she was just excited that someone was interested, just like we get excited when someone's interested in what we're talking about with our family.
Right. Well, and it's always nice, I think, when you're introduced to genealogy by a family member. As opposed to a stranger. Yes. When it's a family member who lights that fire, I think that makes it a little extra special. Also, they feel like they have someone they can dump all their stuff onto once they pass on.
Very true. And that actually has happened.
Yeah, of course.
Some of that research has been passed down to me, and I really appreciate everything that they did before me.
Yeah, I have an aunt just like that. She's just waiting for the day she can bring it all in the truck to my house. And so we'll see what happens. You mentioned you had ancestry and relatives in Darke County, Ohio.
Yes.
What is it about Ohio genealogy you think that makes it so interesting or challenging or both?
I think probably one of the greatest things about being an Ohio researcher and having a couple hundred years of Ohioans in my family is that we're kind of a crossroads between the East and the West, between the North and the South. A lot of people came through Ohio, whether that was floating down the river or on boats or the Ohio Erie canals, all of those different transportation systems. And we're so fortunate because we also are so rich in archives.
Yeah.
So not only the Ohio Genealogical Society Library, but we've got such a rich archive system, even down to the county and township level here. So lots of great places to do research.
And I know one of the things that I really love and respect the most about the Ohio Genealogical Society, besides the fact that they pay me, is the fact that we have so many chapters all across the state
Yes.
who play such an important and vital role in preserving, indexing, documenting all of these kind of disparate resources that are kind of scattered all about. As a native Pennsylvanian, I'm a little more used to condensed information. Ohio is a wonderful thing in the sense that it's really there, and I know we send a lot of people to our chapters when they're researching specific counties, because we know that's where the gravy is.
That's right. Absolutely.
How long have you been associated with the conference? If I'm not putting you on the spot.
Well, I was thinking about that when we were talking about talking today. And I think the first OGS conference I went to was in Toledo. And so that might have been 2010, 2011, somewhere in that range. So it's been more than a decade, probably 11 or 12 years. And I attended that conference, and it's just something about it really resonated with me. Like, these are my people. They're interested in what I'm interested in. Maybe I could be a speaker too. And, so it really did kind of spark a lot in me.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I've only been to a handful of conferences since I've been with the Ohio Genealogical Society, but I know what I enjoy about them is the camaraderie, the socialization, the ability to actually talk to people, which is nice. Now we're out of the COVID era, and we can do these public gatherings again. Now you're going to be presenting, I think it's 5 sessions or 5 programs at the 2025 OGS conference at Kalahari in this coming year. I know you got 2 that I think you're doing on our workshop day.
Yes.
Right. And then 3 sessions. Let's talk a little bit about the workshops, because I don't know that a lot of our members or attendees, they tend to think of us as a Thursday through Saturday, and they don't realize we've got this whole other wonderful day of workshops on Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday is a really fun day because sometimes things are society focused. Sometimes they're a little bit more professional focused. There's just a wide variety of things to attend. Some things are free, some things are a little bit extra. So, and one of the sessions that I'm going to do that day that I'm really excited about is about society memberships and what can you get from those local genealogical society memberships and how valuable they are.
Yeah, and I think that's obviously very important. But and I also noticed you're doing one on writing stories, and I think that's wonderful, because I think so often, we can get mired in the birth, marriage, and death process, and forget about the stories that fill in the gaps between those two. Talk to me a little bit about writing those stories and writing stories in general, and what's needed for that.
Well, writing stories, that workshop is more about us as individual genealogists, or maybe in collaboration with our cousins, collecting up stories about our family. It's not really about professional publications, although it could be.
Sure.
OGS Quarterly Magazine, they're always looking for people to submit things. But this is more of a passion project. It's more about, I've been hoarding and hoarding and hoarding. Now what? And, time is short. And so if not now, when? And so I think it's really more about sparking that interest and then looking at how many different ways can you write stories? Can it be first person? Can it be something that's more like a migration story? Or maybe it's a story about a piece of furniture that you've inherited, more of a provenance kind of thing. So there are a lot of different ways to approach writing, and really no wrong ways. So that's kind of the focus of it.
Well, I know for me, my academic background's in history, as opposed to anything, and that's what we do, obviously, is we tend to write stories. And so I found that really compelling. I'm hoping to be able to catch some of that myself when I'm there on Wednesday, if I can get out of the main event hall set up and maybe
Right.
sneak away for a little while.
If you're allowed to escape.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, what I like about one of the things I like about OGS's conference as well is the idea that it is multi-tracked.
Yes.
And so you're not, yes, there's a theme, and we'll talk a little bit about that, later, but there are so many tracks that you can look at. And like, I was excited this year. I saw someone is giving a talk on Quebecois genealogy, and that's my family. That's where we're from. So I'm desperately hoping I don't have anything conflicting with that. So,
Right.
and when I looked at your sessions that you're giving for those later programs, what I liked about it was kind of the diversity of what you were presenting. Hi, this is OGS Executive Director of the program. I'm formally inviting you to stay, put on your comfiest pajamas, and do not attend our annual no-show ball. That's right. No fancy clothes, no parking hassles, no small talk. Just the satisfaction of supporting a great cause from the comfort of your couch. And what's on the agenda for this year's no-show ball? Absolutely nothing. No dinner to dress up for, no speeches to sit through, no dance moves required. But don't worry, while you enjoy your evening off, your generosity will be hard at work supporting the Ohio Genealogical Society. And this is how you do it. You stay home, you literally do anything else, and then you donate. You can donate today at www.ogs.org/donate and use the 2020 no-show ball cause and your selection. No babysitter, no problem, no shoes, no problem. Thank you for not attending the no-show ball, but thank you for supporting the Ohio Genealogical Society. This DNA case study sounds fascinating to me that you're doing. Go ahead and give the title of the talk, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. Sorry.
Oh, the title. Is this The Unknown Grandfather?
Yes, very good.
Okay,
Yeah. You want me to read it? I can read it for you.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. It's a DNA case study, The Unknown Grandfather in Washington County, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so there was someone in my family I was working with to determine their unknown grandfather,
Okay.
and their father had a birth certificate that said bastard in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
And so it was just it was another one of those projects
Right.
that I felt compelled to
Yeah.
help. And so what kind of records do you use? What kind of DNA evidence do you pull together? It's kind of
Right.
about proof argument, and do I have
Sure.
enough? If I looked under enough rocks? And so it's really a pretty comprehensive case.
Good. Do you get into what's the word I'm looking for? The sensitive aspect of that process in the sense of,
Yeah.
somebody may not want to be known.
Right. So the case itself is privatized.
Yeah. Okay.
So everything has different names associated than
Right.
the names of the real people. So from that perspective, we've already done some privatizing and covering that sensitivity.
Yeah.
The other thing is that we've not outed which person I've been helping to do that study with.
Right.
And then we do talk a little bit in the session about some of the ethical dilemmas.
Okay. Great.
You're the secret keeper versus, what do you do with your family tree, and what do you do with your DNA stuff? And so, it raises a lot of ethical questions.
Yeah. And I'm glad you address them, because sometimes that gets lost in the mix.
Absolutely.
I'm really interested in your 1818 Welsh migration to Ohio talk. I think mostly because I enjoy, I currently live in New Philadelphia, Ohio.
Okay.
Which is where we have there were a lot of clay mines, coal mines, slate mines. And so we had a large Welsh population here, and a large Italian population, and a large Irish population, and a large Hungarian population. It was an interesting community.
Yes.
So I'm really eager to hear about this. So talk to me a little bit, without giving away too much, about what we're going to hear about.
Sure. Well, the 1818 Welsh migration to Ohio was fairly unique, and I stumbled upon it when I figured out that I had a different ancestor than I thought.
Okay.
So through DNA testing, surprise.
Yeah.
And so I found a connection to the 1818 Welsh. So that migration was fascinating to me. I'm always fascinated by why people leave where they are, why they go where they go, and then how did they travel and get there, and modes of transportation,
Right.
and all the struggles of the time. So it's about that kind of thing, but it's also a
Yeah.
substantial part of the Welsh story that just
Yeah.
continues into the Midwest.
All right. And again, you highlight, I think, one of the wonderful aspects of Ohio history and Ohio genealogy is what a I hate to, we use the word melting pot too much generally,
Right,
but
right.
what a community Ohio was, made up of so many disparate and diverse people,
Absolutely.
and they all kind of interacted together, and I find that fascinating. Um, the third program you're doing is endogamy question mark. Now what?
Yeah.
So you can explain that to me like I'm 6 years old.
Sure. Well, I don't know if I could explain it to you like you're six, but endogamy is something that happens in families where there's a lot of intermarriage due
Okay.
to either a geographical
Mm-hmm.
restriction,
Sure.
boundary kind of thing. It could also be because of religion, and it's kind of prescribed who you're going to marry.
Hmm.
You're going to marry within your group. And
Sure.
so a lot of the endogamous populations that we deal with in DNA are different types of Judaism,
Okay.
Cajuns, Acadians, French
Hmm.
Canadians, Amish. So there are several groups, lots of
Right.
groups that have that, and so people encounter that in their DNA, and they're not sure
Yeah.
what to do with their match list
Sure.
because sometimes there's like this extra DNA sharing that they have, and so they're not sure how to kind of gauge, like, well,
Okay.
that the testing company is saying that's a second cousin, but
Yeah.
maybe it's not. Maybe there's a little bit of extra sharing. So
Right.
we're going to talk about some of those tougher cases.
Yeah, I find that pretty fascinating, just generally. I mean, one of the things I freely admit I did not pay attention in science class as an undergraduate student.
Okay.
So when I go to the DNA coursework classes at conference, I tend to try to not glaze over because I realize what I did not pay attention to.
Right, right.
But I really enjoy it because I've had the pleasure of speaking with some DNA genealogists for the podcast, and seeing them at conference and having long conversations with them. So I'm a little bit more educated than I used to be,
It's
but
never
it's still a challenge.
it's
I have so many book recommendations, Kelly, that I've been given from these folks,
right.
and they're just stacking up. One of the themes, the theme of the conference is light up your genealogy,
Yes.
and we'll get into like but how do you, if you had to recommend something to somebody, it's a very simple genealogical practice that
Mhm.
would allow them to illuminate more on their family genealogy, what practice would that be?
Write it down.
Write it down. Okay.
Yeah, I think that one thing that we tend to do when I've used the word hoard, but when we
Yeah.
collect, when we're super collectors of information,
Sure.
I think
Sure.
sometimes we just kind of lose track of that data. We lose
Right.
track of the names or the dates, and
Yeah.
the eras in which people lived in their
Yeah.
lives. And writing things down is really one of those things that helps commit it to memory.
Yeah.
And it's also one of the things that makes it more impactful.
Right.
Plus, we're able to see what do we know versus what we don't know. And so
Mm.
we're not like recollecting those same things over and over again.
Sure.
Like our trees, our ancestry trees tell us, you have tree errors because you have 10
Yeah.
different death dates for this person. Like that's the kind of
Right.
hoarding kind of thing that's helped by writing things down or archiving.
Yeah.
So
I think that's great advice. Do you have a particular program or session that you're looking forward to attending yourself?
oh, wow. Yeah, I think there are several.
Okay.
Leah Larkin is going to be there talking about Banyan,
Hmm.
and I don't know that she's been at the Ohio conference
Okay.
before, at least not in my memory.
Hmm.
So I'm excited to hear what she has to say. Also, I'm part of the APG Great Lakes chapter, so the
Hmm.
Association of Professional
Sure.
Genealogists Great Lakes chapter, and so we have a couple of our members who are doing some interesting talks.
Right.
We are sponsoring Cindy Lindsay's talk on Midwest archives, and
Okay.
so there are some like that I'm interested in hearing
Great.
about
Great.
too.
Well, good. I'm glad you're excited. I'm excited to be there. I'm excited to be able to hopefully see all the things I can see. So Kelli Jo Bergheimer, thank you so much for joining me today for the Ohio Roots podcast to talk about the 2025 OGS conference. And I look forward to seeing you there.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Ready to light up your genealogy? Mark your calendars for the Ohio Genealogical Society's annual conference happening April 30th to May 3rd, 2025 at Kalahari Resorts in Sandusky, Ohio. Immerse yourself in inspiring workshops, expert-led sessions, and exciting discoveries that will help you uncover your family's history. Plus, enjoy the perfect blend of learning and relaxation at one of Ohio's favorite destinations. Don't miss out. Visit ogs.org to learn more and to register. That's ogs.org. Come, connect, learn, and ignite your family story. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty excited about Kelly's sessions at the 2025 OGS Conference. I know I'm particularly going to want to hang out in her class there about the Welsh immigration to Ohio. I think that'll be fascinating. And I love the idea of her talk about how to make the most out of your memberships in genealogical societies like the OGS. So I want to thank Kelli Jo Bergheimer for joining me today on the Ohio Roots podcast. And I look forward to seeing her at the conference, and I look forward to seeing you at the conference as well. Thanks for listening to the Ohio Roots podcast.
The Ohio Roots podcast is brought to you by the Ohio Genealogical Society, the premier gateway to discovering your Ohio family history. Hosted by OGS Executive Director Will Porter and edited by Luke Porter. Theme song is Ohio, recorded by